Have you ever wondered how one small action could change an entire life? At a bustling school in New York, where laughter and close-knit groups of friends filled the schoolyard, there was a quiet corner few paid attention to. In that corner sat a boy with autism, his eyes avoiding every gaze as if trying to make himself invisible. No one approached, no one asked. Then came Barron Trump, a new student, carrying with him both expectations and pressures, who did something no one expected. What seemed like a simple encounter unfolded into a heartwarming story of friendship, empathy, and the power of kindness. A luxurious car pulled up in front of the prestigious private school in New York. Barron Trump stepped out, immediately feeling the weight of everyone's gaze upon him. As a new student bearing the Trump name, he knew he couldn't escape the attention. But Barron didn't care. To him, the most important thing now was adapting to this new environment and finding his place in the tight-knit school. The morning passed quickly with the first few classes. During lunch break, Barron stepped into the schoolyard, where groups of students gathered, chatting enthusiastically or playing basketball on the court. Amid the noise and excitement, his gaze stopped at a corner of the yard. There, a boy around his age sat quietly on an old wooden bench, completely apart from everyone else. The boy sat with his head down, clutching a piece of paper tightly, as if trying to calm something deep inside. Barron watched, wondering why the boy was sitting alone amidst such a lively atmosphere. As Barron looked around, it seemed no one noticed the boy in the corner, which only amplified his solitude. Curiosity pushed Barron to approach a group of classmates playing basketball nearby. "Hey, who's that over there?" Barron asked, pointing toward the corner of the yard. One of the students paused, glancing briefly at the boy sitting alone before shrugging. "Oh, that's Noah. He's weird. I think he has autism, so nobody really talks to him." The word weird was spoken lightly, but it made Barron feel uncomfortable. He looked back at Noah, this time noticing the quietness in his eyes more clearly. Weird? Barron thought to himself. No, maybe no one had truly tried to understand Noah. That afternoon, while everyone scattered to find a table in the cafeteria, Barron noticed Noah still sitting in the same spot, gripping his piece of paper as if it were a lifeline. Unable to resist the urge building within him, Barron decided to walk over. "Hi," Barron began, keeping his tone gentle. "I'm Barron. What are you working on?" Noah looked up, a flicker of surprise crossing his face at Barron's approach. He didn't respond immediately, hesitating instead. Barron didn't back off. He offered a small smile, trying to put Noah at ease. Finally, Noah extended the paper in his hands. It was a sketch, simple but filled with fascinating colors and details. "Did you draw this?" Barron asked, his eyes lighting up. "This is amazing. I don't think I could ever draw something like that." Noah frowned slightly, as if doubting the compliment. After a moment, he gave a small nod. "I like to draw," he said softly. Barron looked at Noah, sensing the honesty in his words. He decided to sit on the bench beside him, keeping just enough distance so Noah wouldn't feel overwhelmed. "I like drawing too, but I'm not very good at it. Could you teach me?" Barron asked. Noah didn't respond immediately, but his gaze no longer held the guarded wariness it had before. Barron realized he had begun to create a fragile connection with his new friend. The two sat quietly for a while, the only sound being the gentle rustling of leaves in the schoolyard. In the days that followed, Barron regularly sought out Noah during lunch breaks. He made sure not to push too hard, simply sitting with Noah on the familiar wooden bench. At first, their conversations consisted of brief questions and hesitant answers. Over time, however, Noah began to open up, occasionally talking about the themes of his drawings or sharing simple thoughts he had never voiced to anyone before. Noah had a unique way of seeing the world, and Barron found it fascinating. Noah's drawings amazed him even more. They weren't just beautiful, they were meaningful. They depicted serene landscapes with vast skies, as if they represented a place Noah longed to escape to. One day, as Barron sat down next to Noah, he noticed a few classmates staring at him. At first, Barron ignored it, but soon whispers turned into giggles. A group of students passed by the bench, glancing at Barron and Noah before one of them sneered. Barron couldn't find anyone better to hang out with. You're playing with weird Noah now? Another boy laughed louder. Careful, Barron. Spend too much time with Noah, and you might end up like him. Barron felt Noah's gaze drop instantly to the ground, his hands clutching the paper in his lap even tighter. Anger flared in Barron's chest, but he didn't want to make Noah feel more uncomfortable. Who I spend time with is my choice, Barron replied, his tone calm but edged with cold resolve. The ridicule didn't stop there. The next day, as Barron entered the cafeteria to grab his lunch tray, he became acutely aware of eyes following him. Some students whispered to one another, their words clearly aimed at him. A taller boy, likely half a year older, blocked Barron's path with a mocking grin. Don't forget to invite Noah to sit with you, he said, his tone dripping with sarcasm. You two make the weirdest pair in school. Barron didn't bother responding. He pushed past, holding his tray tightly, and walked straight to the familiar table where Noah sat. Noah looked up as Barron set his tray down, his eyes filled with confusion and guilt. You don't have to do this, Noah said quietly, his voice tinged with remorse. They're only doing this because you're sitting with me. If you stayed away, it'd all stop. Barron paused, looking at Noah for a long moment. Noah, you didn't do anything wrong. I'm sitting here because I want to, not because anyone forced me, and I don't care what they think. Noah was about to say something else, but the determined look in Barron's eyes silenced him. For the first time, Noah felt like someone was genuinely on his side, not out of pity, but because they truly valued him. That afternoon, Barron happened to find Noah sitting alone in the back corner of the schoolyard, holding a sketchbook. Curious, he walked over and asked, "What are you drawing?" Would you like to know what Noah was drawing that surprised Barron? Let us know in the comments where you're watching this video from. And don't forget to subscribe, because tomorrow we'll bring you another amazing story. Noah hesitated for a moment before handing the sketchbook to Barron. Inside were incredibly detailed sketches of birds, majestic eagles, delicate sparrows, and more. One drawing particularly caught Barron's attention, a small bird in a cage, its wings spread wide as if trying to break free. You like drawing birds, huh? Barron asked. Noah nodded. I like birds. They're freer than we are. His eyes drifted away, and he added, Don't tell anyone. They'll just make fun of me. Why would they do that? This is amazing, it's a talent. Barron protested. Noah looked down and sighed. Once, I brought a drawing to class. Someone ripped it up and said I was just wasting my time. Since then, I haven't shown anyone my work. A quiet anger stirred within Barron. How could someone so talented and sensitive be treated so unfairly? He clutched the sketchbook tightly before gently handing it back to Noah. Noah, I don't know who said that to you, but they were wrong. You have a gift not everyone has. And I'm sure there are people, not just me, who will see how special you are. Noah looked at Barron, a faint glimmer of hope in his eyes. Barron knew it wouldn't be easy to convince Noah to see his own worth, but he was determined not to give up. Someone like Noah deserved recognition, not cruel words. As the final bell rang, signaling the end of the school day, Barron stood up and smiled at Noah. See you tomorrow. And don't forget to bring your sketchbook, I want to see more. Noah hesitated for a moment, but then nodded. Barron continued to spend time with Noah every day, not only during lunch breaks but also after school. He knew Noah needed time to rebuild his confidence, and Barron was willing to be there for him, even if it meant enduring the ridicule of his classmates. But Barron didn't mind. He believed that helping Noah overcome his fears and isolation was worth it. One afternoon, as they sat on their usual bench, Barron noticed Noah sketching in his notebook. The image of a small bird with outstretched wings trapped inside a metal cage slowly took shape. The lines were meticulous, and the black and white shading conveyed a deep sadness. This is incredible, Noah, Barron said, his eyes tracing every detail. Do you think this reflects how you feel? Noah hesitated but then gave a small nod. I often feel like that bird, trapped, unable to escape, he admitted, his voice trembling. Barron pondered this for a moment before saying, You should show this to people. It's not just beautiful, it's meaningful. It's a part of you. Noah's immediate reaction was to shake his head, panic flashing in his eyes. No, I can't. What if they laugh at me again? I don't want that to happen. Barron placed a reassuring hand on Noah's shoulder and said firmly, Noah, I know it's scary, but you can't keep hiding your talent. If you show this to the right people, they'll see how extraordinary you are. Though Barron's words didn't instantly change Noah's mind, they planted a seed of thought. After days of reflection, Noah finally agreed to recreate the drawing, this time as a more polished version, to share it with Barron. The day Noah completed the drawing, Barron brought him to meet Ms. Rivera, the school's art teacher. Barron knew that if anyone could appreciate Noah's work, it would be her. When Noah carefully unfolded the protective cover of his drawing, Ms. Rivera stopped in her tracks, her eyes lighting up with admiration. Noah, this is stunning, she said with genuine awe. It's not just beautiful, it's emotionally profound. Would you consider displaying it at the school art exhibition next week? I think people will be amazed by your talent. Noah glanced at Barron, his eyes filled with uncertainty. Barron smiled and nodded, silently urging Noah to trust himself. Finally, Noah took a deep breath and said, If you think it's worth it, then I'll do it. Barron felt a surge of pride as he saw Noah beginning to believe in himself. 3 days before the exhibition, Noah left his artwork in the art room. He and Ms. Rivera had just finished adjusting the frame, and Noah felt a spark of excitement at the thought of his work being displayed for the first time. But that joy was short-lived. The next day, when Barron walked into the art room, he saw Noah standing frozen in front of a table, his face pale. Noah's painting had been ripped to shreds, with torn paper scattered across the table and floor. Colours were smeared, and the deliberate malice in the destruction was painfully clear. Noah stood there, his eyes empty. Barron hurried over, his heart sinking as anger began to boil inside him. Who did this? Barron asked, his voice filled with fury. Noah didn't answer. He simply lowered his head, his trembling hands picking up the pieces of his painting. Finally, he sighed, his voice barely audible. I knew it. I shouldn't have drawn anything. They'll always do this. I'm not worth the effort. Noah, don't say that, Barron said urgently. This isn't your fault. The ones who did this are the ones who are wrong. But Noah wasn't listening. He clutched the torn pieces to his chest and walked out of the room without saying another word. Barron watched him leave, his heart aching. He knew how much hope Noah had placed in this painting, and now it was all gone. Barron made a promise to himself. This wasn't how it would end. No one had the right to take away Noah's dreams and passion. No matter what it took, Barron would help Noah get back up again. In the days following the destruction of his painting, Noah became even more withdrawn. No matter how much Barron tried to encourage him, Noah kept his distance and avoided conversations. Barron was deeply worried. He knew that the pain Noah felt wasn't just about the ruined painting, it was something much deeper. On a quiet Saturday afternoon, Barron decided to visit Noah at his home. He rang the doorbell, and Noah answered, looking slightly surprised to see Barron standing there with a bag of pastries and a warm smile. I brought some snacks. Hope you haven't had lunch yet, Barron said, trying to keep his tone light. Noah hesitated for a moment but eventually nodded and stepped aside to let Barron in. Noah's house was small and modest, a stark contrast to what Barron was accustomed to. But what struck Barron the most was the silence. It was unnervingly quiet. There was no sound of a TV, no voices from adults, just an eerie stillness. Barron followed Noah to his room, where he noticed a corner of the wall covered with drawings of birds and nature scenes. These are amazing, Barron said, his eyes scanning the artwork. Noah shrugged, saying nothing. He sat down at his desk, his fingers instinctively fiddling with a pencil. Noah, Barron began gently, I know you're upset about what happened to your painting, but if you ever want to talk about it, I'm here to listen." For a long time, Noah didn't respond. Then, out of nowhere, he said, "You don't have to do this, Barron. I'm not worth your trouble." "Don't say that," Barron replied firmly. "You're my friend and I want to help you. But to do that, I need to understand you better. Can you tell me why you always keep your distance from everyone?" Noah looked up, confusion and hesitation flickering in his eyes. It seemed like he wanted to say something but was too afraid to admit it. Finally, he sighed, turning his gaze to the window as if searching for courage. "Have you ever felt like, if you opened up to someone and they left, you'd never recover?" Noah said softly. Barron frowned. "What do you mean?" Noah gripped the pencil tightly in his hand, his voice trembling as he began to explain. "I used to have an older brother. He was 3 years older than me, and he was the only person in my family who understood me. We did everything together, drawing, reading, going to the park. But then, there was a car accident, and he was gone." Noah's voice broke, and Barron felt a lump form in his throat. "After that, everything changed. My parents weren't the same anymore. They kept blaming each other for the accident. They fought all the time, and no one paid attention to me anymore. I didn't want to talk to anyone. I thought, if I didn't get close to anyone, I wouldn't have to feel that kind of pain again." Noah lowered his head, hiding his tear-filled eyes. Barron sat in silence, overwhelmed by the depth of Noah's pain. This wasn't just the story of a boy who was bullied, this was the story of a soul who had endured too much loss. Barron felt his chest tighten, but what moved him even more was Noah's resilience. Despite the silence and isolation, he was still trying to exist. "Noah," Barron said, his voice steady and sincere, "I can't change what happened to your brother or your family. But I can promise you this. I'm not going anywhere. I'll be here, no matter what." Noah looked up, his eyes wide with surprise. It was as if no one had ever told him something like that before. "You don't have to do this, Barron," Noah said quietly. "I don't want you to get hurt just because you're friends with me." "I don't see it that way," Barron replied with a smile. "I think sometimes we have to take risks to do what's right. And you deserve a friend, Noah." The next day, Barron headed straight to the art room after school. Noah was sitting at a corner table, his hands clasped tightly together. His eyes still carried the sadness of the previous incident, but Barron had come prepared with a plan. "Noah, we need to recreate your painting," Barron said firmly. Noah looked up, his face filled with surprise. "What are you saying? Recreate it? After what they did?" "Exactly because of what they did," Barron replied, moving closer to Noah. "You can't let them win. That painting wasn't just a piece of art, it was your voice. If you don't recreate it, they'll think they can silence your passion." Noah lowered his head, staying quiet. Before he could object, Ms. Rivera entered the room, holding a brand new set of paints. "Barron is right, Noah," she said, her eyes filled with encouragement. "Your talent is a gift. The world needs to see it. I think you should recreate the painting, but this time include what you truly want to express." Noah looked between the two of them, still hesitant. Yet the conviction in their voices seemed to soften him. Finally, he gave a small nod. "Okay," he said quietly but firmly. "I'll try." Over the next few days, Barron spent time with Noah in the art room after school. He didn't just help Noah gather materials but also kept him company, offering support and encouragement to keep Noah focused and confident. Noah began to recreate the painting from scratch, but this time he added a crucial detail: a small bird soaring out of the cage, its wings outstretched, full of freedom and hope. The day of the exhibition finally arrived. The entire school was buzzing with excitement, and Noah was one of the featured young artists. When Noah's painting was placed at the center of the exhibition room, Barron stood beside him, patting his shoulder. "I knew you could do it. Now's your chance to show everyone who you are." Noah nodded, though Barron noticed his hands trembling slightly. Even so, Noah stepped forward, standing by his painting, waiting for the crowd's reactions. Visitors began pouring into the gallery. Students, teachers, and even parents stopped to admire the artwork. When they reached Noah's painting, the room seemed to quiet down. Some whispered softly, while others simply stood in silent awe, their eyes reflecting admiration. One teacher lingered in front of the painting, shaking their head gently before turning to Noah. "This piece is truly remarkable. You've conveyed such raw emotion. That bird isn't just flying out of the cage, it's breaking free from its own fears." Noah didn't know how to respond. He simply nodded, feeling a pride he had never experienced before. The most unexpected reaction came from those who had bullied Noah. Among them was Ethan, who had been the most vocal in mocking Noah. He stood silently in front of the painting, saying nothing. When Noah glanced at him, his eyes cautious, Ethan muttered, "I didn't think you could do something like this." After a moment, Ethan turned to face Noah, his usual arrogance replaced by genuine remorse. "I'm sorry," Ethan said quietly. "I was wrong." Noah looked at Barron, then back at Ethan. After a long pause, he replied, "I'll accept your apology, but only if you truly change." Ethan nodded, his expression sincere. As the exhibition drew to a close, Ms. Rivera approached Noah and placed a hand on his shoulder. "Noah, your painting deserves more than just being displayed here. It should be seen by a larger audience." Noah looked up at her, surprised. Barron stood beside him, smiling. "I told you," Barron said. "You don't just have talent, you have the power to change the way people see things." Noah felt something shift inside him. For the first time, he no longer felt trapped or isolated. He smiled a smile Barron had never seen before and said, "I think I can do so much more." After the exhibition, something changed within the school. Noah's painting was no longer just a piece of art, it had become a powerful reminder that everyone has their own story, and that empathy can break the invisible walls between people for anyone who has ever felt trapped in their own cage. The students who had once bullied Noah began to change their attitudes. Some classmates who had never spoken to Noah before now stopped to greet him or invited him to join group activities. The atmosphere at school gradually shifted. The cruel jokes and mocking laughter that had once echoed within the halls nearly vanished. In their place were small but meaningful gestures, a pat on the shoulder, a word of encouragement, or simply mutual respect. Noah no longer avoided everyone. He stopped sitting alone in the corner of the yard and started participating in group activities, even sharing some of his drawings with his peers. Although he was still a bit reserved, the warmth he felt from those around him made him feel more welcome than ever before. A week after the exhibition, Miss Rivera brought unexpected news. Noah's painting had been nominated for a state-level art competition, where works from schools across the region would be displayed and judged. "Noah, I believe your painting isn't just beautiful, it carries a powerful message. It will inspire people far beyond this school," Ms. Rivera said, her eyes shining with pride. Noah couldn't hide his nervousness, but Barron was there, giving his friend a reassuring pat on the shoulder. "You've already done it here, Noah. I know you can do it out there too." Noah smiled, though there was still a hint of apprehension in his expression. On the day of the competition, Noah, Barron, and Ms. Rivera arrived at the Arts Center hosting the event. The exhibition hall was grandly decorated, showcasing vibrant and creative pieces from all over the state. When Noah's name was announced as the first-place winner, the entire room erupted in applause. Barron jumped to his feet, cheering loudly. "I told you. Noah, you're amazing." Noah walked up to the stage, holding a small trophy in his hands, his eyes sparkling with joy. In that moment, he felt not only recognized but truly part of a larger community. When Noah returned to school, he was welcomed as a hero. The principal decided to honor him by initiating a special art project, painting a mural inspired by Noah's work. In the weeks that followed, the entire student body participated in the project. They worked together, blending colors, sketching outlines, and painting the large wall in the schoolyard. When the mural was complete, the image of the bird soaring out of its cage stood vivid and full of emotion. Beneath the mural was the phrase, "Kindness can break all barriers." Noah stood in front of the mural, feeling the atmosphere around him radiating hope and warmth. Barron stood beside him and said softly, "You did it, Noah. Not just for yourself, but for everyone." Noah turned to Barron, his eyes sparkling with happiness. He smiled and replied, "No, we did it together." In that moment, Barron realized that what he had done didn't just change Noah, it had changed him too. Kindness, no matter how small, has the power to ripple outward and create profound change. Noah, once someone who felt trapped in his own cage, had now spread his wings and soared freely. And Barron, the one who opened that cage, felt prouder than ever. What about you? Are you trapped in a cage of your own? Maybe it's the fear of failure, feelings of inadequacy, or the weight of others' judgments. A cage isn't always visible, but it can imprison your soul, holding you back from stepping out and showing the world who you are. Noah's cage was loneliness, the pain of loss, and the feeling of being misunderstood. But thanks to Barron's kindness and perseverance, Noah found his wings and broke free, soaring higher than ever before. If you feel stuck, take a moment to look around. Maybe someone near you needs your help to find their way out too. And who knows, in helping them, you might just discover your own wings. Remember, kindness, no matter how small, can break all barriers. One simple act can change a life. Kindness can break all barriers. If you enjoyed this video, don't forget to hit subscribe and support us in reaching our first 1,000 subscribers. Thank you for watching, and see you in the next story.